Hello, everyone. My name is Rorie Reyes. I work with Kerry, Lyons, and we are the WebServ metrics group, and this is our project's build process. So before we dive into the build process, let's quickly go over what WebServ metrics is all about. Our project aims to provide comprehensive web server metrics using PHP sysinfo, a web-based tool that displays system information. With WebServ metrics, users can monitor their web server's performance, track historical data, and analyze trends. So let's get started. So let's talk about the prerequisites of our project. These are requirements that the end user will need to install on their end before they could actually use the application, before they can actually build the system that is required in order for our application to work. Let's start with PHP sysinfo. So with PHP sysinfo, the user needs to install this because it's a crucial component for the WebServ metrics because it provides a detailed system information about the web server. This information includes CPU usage, RAM usage, disk space, and more. It allows users to monitor the performance of their web server in real time and helps in diagnosing any potential issues. Next, the user will need to choose what web server will host this project. So we kept it with a minimal option with Apache, Nginx, and IIS. So this will be responsible for serving the web pages and processing requests from clients. Choosing the right web server is important because it determines the performance and scalability of the application. Next, we need to have a database, and we requested end user to install MariaDB. This database will manage the system for the WebServ metrics. It will store important data such as user information, metrics data, and configuration settings. Having MariaDB installed and configured correctly is essential for the proper functioning of the application. Next, PHP has to be installed. PHP is a server-side scripting language and is used to develop our project for WebServ metrics. It's used to interact with web server and the database, generate dynamic content, and handle user requests. The includes folder contains PHP scripts that are essential for the functionality of the application. So each of these prerequisites play a crucial role in the overall functionality and performance of WebServ metrics. Ensuring that these components are properly installed and configured is essential for a smooth and efficient operation of the application. So next will be the installation process, and the first part will be a manual step. Our source code of our project is hosted in GitHub in this repository, so the end user will need to clone that onto their local machine. Like I mentioned before, this contains all the source code as well as certain files that will be copied over into their web server's root directory. So the next step is where the bulk of our presentation will consist of, the build code. I created a Python script called install.py where it will properly maneuver all the files to be copied over into the web root directory. We'll install the database into MariaDB, etc. So let's go through the code for this particular project. So first step is we're going to check the prerequisites are downloaded. The user will be prompted in the script whether all the prerequisite criteria has been met. If it's not, then the script will close. If yes, then we'll continue on with the build. Next step, it'll ask the user what web server is being used, Apache, Nginx, or IIS. And on top of that, my code will also check what kind of operating system is being used. So whether you're on a Mac or Windows, it'll properly locate the web root directory for the specific web server software. So for example, I'm on a Mac, I installed Apache. So for me, when I'm prompted which web server is installed, I'll choose Apache. It'll know that I'm on a Mac, so it will locate the web root directory to be in library web server documents. And if Right now, I only have Mac and Windows being checked. Later on, I'll include some other operating system that could potentially be used. But for now, if it's not a Mac or Windows, it'll close and say we have an unsupported operating system. All right, so the next step is in our repository, we have a folder called WebServ metrics. And inside that WebServ metrics are several files and other subfolders that will be needed to be copied over into web directory. So that's why it's important to have your web server installed and to know where that web root path is located. So what will happen is my code will copy the entire folder of WebServ metrics into the web root directory. Next, the user will be prompted their MariaDB information. So it will ask for what host server will be used, and then if none is provided, it'll default to localhost. Next, it'll ask for the username of your MariaDB account. Then it'll prompt you for your password, and I set it up where the password will be hidden as you type it. So make sure the end user has to correctly input their password, otherwise it'll fail. So with that information being given, there's a file in our repository in a subfolder called includes in a PHP script called MariaDB connection. This file will need the MariaDB information provided by the end user in order for the database to operate properly. And my code will dynamically input that information into this file, and I'll open up right here, into these three variables right here. And I'll keep this open. That way I can show you that it changes after I run my Python script. So with that information, it'll dynamically be inputted into those three variables and saved. It'll append it into MariaDB connections. Once that's settled, we'll already have all the MariaDB information inputted. Next, or the final step, is to create a database called metrics project. This metrics project, if you remember in here, metrics project is already hard-coded into the MariaDB database name. So that is required in our project to work essential in order for the database to operate the way we intended it for. So with the server name inputted, the username and password, we'll be able to create a database metrics project as long as it doesn't exist. And then after that, we will use that database and input the SQL file for our project. And once all said and done and everything's all done correctly, everything should have been built and setup is complete. So last step in our build process is a manual process. So as long as the end user has PHP installed, we'll need to find the includes folder and save that MariaDB connections.php file to that path. And that last step is to demonstrate the build. So right now, just to show you all, here is my Apache web root directory. I'm just going to quickly bring you here. So if you go to cd library web server documents, this is my Apache web root directory. All right, so here, as you can see, I don't have the WebServ metrics folder installed yet. I can show you my SQL database. All right, so right now I don't have metrics project. So let me exit that, clear. All right, so now let's go to documents. project repo. All right. Now let's run the build. So, and before I forget, because we are copying a file from our repository to an Apache web root directory, I will need to run it on sudo because there are permissions. There are permissions set where we need to be able to run this as root. So in order to run the Python script properly, we need to do install sudo install.py. So requesting my admin password. Oh, oops. Hope I remembered it. So now it's asking, have you downloaded the prerequisites? Yes. Actually, let me just demonstrate. If you say no, it closes. All right. Yes. I'm using Apache. Now it's asking for a server name for MariaDB. Type in localhost, enter my username, enter your MariaDB password. And like I mentioned, it's hidden. So now it tells me that the database is created, SQL file imported correctly, setup complete. So first things first, let's make sure that we do have, yep. So our WebServ metrics folder has been copied over to our web root directory. And then let's make sure the database exists. Show databases. There it is. Let's just go into use metrics project and then show tables. There you go. Everything is properly imported. I have the folder from our repository saved into our web root directory. And that's it for our build. Thank you for listening. My name is Rorie Reyes, my partner, Kerry Lyons. Please let us know what we can do better for this assignment. Take care.